Talofa lava, and this is Pacific Waves from RNZ Pacific. I'm Susana Swisuki. Coming up,
What I have brought out, I believe, or the coup has brought out, is more of a self-realization.
Fiji's Prime Minister fronts the Truth and Reconciliation Commission in an effort to heal the nation. Also, Utah's first Samoan news anchor takes home an Emmy Award, and Tonga's rugby league star player is hoping to make a return to the NRL. Fiji's Prime Minister Sitiveni Rabuka has opened up about the events that led up to the political upheavals of 1987. For the first time, he appeared before the Truth and Reconciliation Commission in Suva on Friday. He faced the commissioners wearing a tie in the colours of the Fiji Army in a much-anticipated testimony by Fijians locally and overseas. He began by revisiting his childhood and the influences in his life that shaped his worldview. He fundamentally accepted the actions of 87 were rooted in his racial worldview. He admitted that during that time, he saw no other way.
The nature of the 1987 upheaval was a straightforward racial one, ethnic differences coming to boiling point when the Tokei of the time felt there was also no other way.
The Commission questioned the Prime Minister about the human rights violations suffered during the political upheavals. When asked what are the moral and legal obligations of those responsible for the events, Mr. Rabuka had this to say.
Those who were personally and directly involved, I had no control over. I regretted them happening, but they can all say that I opened the door, for which I accept responsibility.
He also told commissioners that the impacts of the upheavals led to the huge exodus of talented and professional people. Mr. Rabuka said one of the corrective actions he took when he was in charge of most things was to send away Itauke men and women to take crash courses in the legal profession and in areas of finance. He told the Commission that we had to carry scars for many years.
When we had to fill in, some appropriately, some probably not properly trained to fill in those shoes, and the vacancies left after the mass outward migration of our qualified people.
The Fiji coups of 1987, one in May and the other in September, were both military actions led by Mr. Rabuka, who was then third in command of Fiji military forces. Mr. Rabuka was asked by a commissioner whether the coups in the country served their purpose. Mr. Rabuka said this.
I cannot say a truthful yes. What I have brought out, I believe, or the coup has brought out, is more of a self-realization of who we are, what we're doing, where we need to be.
Two other coups took place in the country, one in 2000 and the other in 2006. Sitiveni Rabuka's coalition government set up the Truth and Reconciliation Commission with the aim of truth-telling and reconciliation regarding political upheavals dating back to 1987. In the United States, Utah's first Samoan news anchor has won an Emmy Award for her coverage of the Maui wildfires. Tamara Waifanua has been a journalist for over 25 years and says her Samoan heritage grounds her and is a huge influence in her storytelling. I caught up with Tamara Waifanua, who began by sharing her family roots in Samoa.
So my father, Vaimasima Waifanua, hails from Alau, American Samoa. My mother, Lila Skips Waifanua, is from Pesenga in Upolu, Samoa.
So you're born in the States or were you born in
And
Samoa?
so my parents got married in the States, in California, and they raised their family here in Utah. So I grew up in Utah all of my life, so I'm a Utah girl at heart.
You know, as Samoans, we're naturally born storytellers. But besides the storytelling, what was it about journalism that drew you in?
For me, I've always really enjoyed writing. So the fact that I could combine writing with different elements of getting people on camera I was really exposed to it for the first time when I attended college and I took a TV production class. So the fact that I could write, I could interview people, I could kind of craft a story, put it on video, and put it all together, although it may seem very stressful to people for whatever reason, I gravitated toward it. I think because most of the focus was on other people and learning more about other people rather than on myself, because naturally I'm an introvert and I'm very shy. So the chance for me to put the focus on other people and their stories is really what drew me to it.
Is there any part of the Samoan culture or your heritage that influences your storytelling?
I would have to say pretty much everything I do just because it's who I am. And although I don't live in Samoa, I was not raised in Samoa, and all of my experiences are from living stateside. Both of my parents, they instilled that into me all throughout my life, where I've been surrounded by my Samoan community, Pacific Islander community, whether it be attending church with, a Samoan congregation. It's just something that my parents always instilled with me. So as a storyteller, it's just ingrained in me. I'm so used to being around large groups of people, having fun, being joyful, laughing, telling jokes, celebrating. That's just kind of what's ingrained in me. And so I intentionally just seek out those stories. And I know it has a lot to do with my upbringing, although I was raised all the way here in Utah. I have that Polynesian community here. And so that translate in every part of my story, from the inception to interviewing the different types of people and then finally getting it on air for the rest of Utah to experience.
Because you're the first Samoan news anchor in Utah, do you feel that this will sort of there's a pressure from the Pacific Islander community in Utah to for you to tell their stories accurately?
Mhm. I definitely feel it. And I say pressure is a privilege. So for me, that pressure is mostly out of respect. I revere my culture, I revere their stories, and I want to be delicate with them and I want to give it the care that it deserves. And I feel honored that I have a different vantage point just because I am ingrained in the community. So you say pressure, but it's more just out of respect. And I want to make sure that I am getting it correct. So it comes with respect and an honor too, that I am gifted these stories and I want to make sure that I give them the mutual respect that it deserves.
Share with us the moment when you were nominated and when you won an Emmy for your coverage of the Maui
Mhm.
wildfires. What was that like?
Wow, I'd have to say that the nomination itself was the highlight for me. I worked with a really solid team, a producer, Angie Dennison, and our photojournalist, Eric Betts. And so to receive the honor, because these Emmys, they cover um, news stations and journalists from, all over the country, specifically on the western part of the United States. So we are going up against some really solid storytelling and documentaries. And so just the fact that we were nominated was a huge honor, just because I know the process that um, goes into selecting these types of stories. And then when we won, I was just more than anything humbled. I didn't attend the actual ceremony. I actually received a text from a friend because it was a Saturday night and I was actually at a church event where I was chaperoning a youth dance. So I knew it was happening, but I was very busy. And it wasn't until I received a text from a friend that said congratulations. And I was just floored. I was really humbled and just honored to be recognized by your peers more than anything. But this Emmy really was for the people of Maui, because without them, without their voice, without their openness and willingness to share some really raw personal emotions with me, I would not have a story to share. And it was all because of them. So because of that, I dedicate this Emmy to the people of Maui.
And will you be heading back to Maui to do any other follow-up coverage or stories?
As far as right now, I don't have anything planned, but that could all change depending on what my managers would like to do. And if there are still so many stories, I would love to follow up and just see how they're doing. I know that there's people that are not back in their homes, they have not rebuilt. Maui has an issue with finding affordable housing for them right now. So I would love to go back and just see where they're at. And I know a lot of people are invested in seeing their journey through.
And just to close off our talanoa, Tamara, what's your message to other Pacific people who want to get into the news industry but are feeling somewhat reluctant, especially given the criticism that us journalists receive?
My advice for Pacific communities, Pacific journalists that are interested in becoming journalists is just, you know, just be bold, be strong. The stories are within us, and don't second guess it. Don't feel that you need to be muzzled or you need to shape a story a certain way. That's the beauty of Pacific Islander communities, is that they're ingrained in us, and we come from a long line of storytellers and creators and voyagers. And so my advice, if you are out there and you're thinking twice about it, is just be curious, be willing to find out about other people, find out about other groups of people, and then be willing to share our stories too, because here in Utah, there are less than a handful of Pacific Islander journalists. And so that's why I do feel a sense of responsibility in my newsroom through my experiences to look out for the stories that are impacting my community, because other news agencies, they don't have that luxury. So my advice to journalists is just to be bold, stand up, let your voice be heard, and take that space because it's ours.
To your point about non-Pacific people or non-Pacific journalists covering Pacific stories, what's your advice or message to them when it comes to covering Pacific people and their issues?
I say, don't just drop by. I say immerse yourself in the communities. We naturally are just joyous people, and we are very inviting. We want to feed you, we want to clothe you, we want to give you shelter. So for those journalists that don't quite know our communities yet, just immerse yourself in it. Don't just do these quick little drop-ins, but be engaged, on the find out who the people are, come out, ask questions, just be intuitively curious. And if we feel that you're being genuine and inviting and you really do want to learn more, then we open ourselves up more. And you will be amazed at the stories and the impact that we can have on your writing.
Dubai hosted the first leg of the HSBC 7 series at the weekend under a new format. Fiji, the only Pacific team in the new series, finished in the top 4. And there's some fresh updates on injured Tonga Rugby League star Iliesa Tora. All that and more from our senior sports journalist Iliesa Tora, who joins me for our talanoa. Bula Iliesa, how did the Dubai Sevens tournament go?
Well, disappointing for both Fiji teams at the Dubai Sevens at the weekend. The men and the women's teams lost in their semi-final matches, but Fijiana finished fourth in the whole tournament standing after they were also beaten by Japan. While the Fiji men's were able to win the third place playoff against France when they defeated them 24-7. Fijiana lost 22-12 to Japan. I think one of the disappointments for the Fijiana team was losing to Japan in that fourth place playoff, but Japan, of course, showing a lot of improvement in the whole tournament over the last 2 days at the Dubai tournament. New Zealand eventually won both the men and the women's competition. Their women's team defeated Australia 29-14, ending Australia's dominance at the Dubai tournament. And the men's team also defeated Australia 26-22. It was a tournament that showed a lot of competition right throughout, because there were only 8 teams, and the new format that was put in place by World Rugby meant that to qualify for the top 2, you had to win all matches. And unfortunately for the Fijians, losing 31-10 to Australia in the women's competition in the semi-finals, and then losing to New Zealand in the men's in a very close, tightly contested match, 24-21.
Where to from here, Ili?
Well, the second round of the competition of the HSBC 7 Series continues this coming weekend, and Cape Town in South Africa is going to be hosting that tournament. We see that there is going to be a lot more exciting matches coming up. In the women's competition, New Zealand, the Black Ferns are pooled with Fiji, USA, the only team that beat them in Dubai, and Great Britain in Pool A. In Pool B of the women's competition, you have Japan with Canada and France, of course, with losing finalist Australia in that Pool B. In the men's competition, it's going to be interesting also because in Pool A, New Zealand are going to be meeting the host South Africa, and then Fiji and Great Britain, and Australia in Pool B of the men's competition against France, Spain, and Argentina. So that's going to be the second tournament for the HSBC 7 Series, and then of course after that the tournament, the series moves on to Singapore in January, Perth in February, Vancouver in Canada in March, and New York in the USA after that, and then it moves on to the Sevens World Championship, where Hong Kong, Valladolid, and then Bordeaux in France are going to be hosting games, tournaments from April, May, June. So a full calendar of Sevens tournaments ahead over the next few months until June.
We also had some football action in Rarotonga this weekend. What's happening there?
Yes, in football in Rarotonga, they're currently playing the FIFA Women's World Cup 2027 Oceania qualifiers, and Cook Islands, the hosts, were able to win their first game against Tahiti. A surprise result, but well done to the Cook Islands. They defeated Tahiti 1-0 in their game on Saturday our time, and then American Samoa, created history, winning their first ever qualifier match, and they defeated Tonga 3-0 at the Cook Islands Football Association Academy in Rarotonga. So what that means now is that Cook Islands and American Samoa will be playing off in the final of the first round of the Oceania qualifier, and then the winner of that final will then move to the second round in February 2026. So that currently is happening in Rarotonga, and an interesting final lineup already for the first round with Cook Islands playing American Samoa in that game.
And finally, Ili, we've had some news regarding Tongan League player Iliesa Tora. How's he now?
Yes, there's been a lot of concern for Iliesa Tora following that brain surgery and the injury he suffered in that game between Tonga and the Kiwis at Eden Park on November 2nd. But good news is he has posted on Instagram, and he says that he is recovering well, and he's hopeful that he will be able to to fully recover over the next few months. And he has thanked all those who have been messaging, who have been praying, who have been supporting him, and he basically says that he's looking forward to recover and going back into recuperation and slowly getting back on his feet to start training, and hopefully he will be back playing for the Melbourne Storms in probably 24 months. The Storm have said over the last week that Iliesa will miss the 2026 NRL season, but they're hopeful that he will be able to fully recover and get back onto the field in the next 24 months. So a lot of positive reaction to that good news, and I'm sure that a lot of rugby fans across the globe will be happy to know that Iliesa Tora is on his way to full recovery.
That's Pacific Waves for today. For all episodes, head over to rnz.co.nz/Pacific. We're also on Spotify, Apple and iHeartRadio. From myself and the RNZ Pacific team, tō whā, soifua.